Hey guys. Okay, welcome to Reading Workshop today, and I'm super excited for this week because our theme this week is called Imagine That. And really what we're going to talk about this week is how we can use our imaginations to create stories or pictures or anything amazing to get our ideas across to other people. It's going to be, our big focus this week is going to be poetry, because poetry is a really, really creative way to get your thoughts and your feelings across to other people so they know what you're thinking and how you're feeling. I love reading poems because I think they're super fun to read, but sometimes you can also think of poetry as a form of like music, okay? Because people can also sing their poems. I wrote up here poetry. I can use my imagination to express my ideas because that's really what poetry is. So there are four, and I know this is far away, and I will put this in Seesaw so that you can see it better, but there are four parts to poetry. Okay, we're going to talk about them real quick, and then we're going to read our first poem of the day. So, poetry usually has rhyme, okay? Rhyme, words that rhyme. Rhyme is words that have the same ending. They sound the same. So I have an example right here. The pup fit in the cup. Let's pick it up. Okay? And I underlined all the words that rhyme on this card. Pup, cup, up. And you can see that they all end with that UP sound. The pup fit in the cup. Let's pick it up. So these are the rhyming words, pup, cup, up, okay? And what's really cool about poetry is since poetry is so creative and they use a lot of descriptive words, and we can use our thinking voice to imagine a picture to go with the poetry, okay? So the reading voice says, the pup fit in the cup, let's pick it up. My thinking voice is thinking of a picture that kind of looks like this, a dog in a teacup, right? Because it's a pup in a cup. So that is what my thinking voice imagined as I was reading those rhyming words. Poetry also has rhythm. Well, what is rhythm? Rhythm is the beat to the poem, okay? Think of it as tapping your foot or slapping your hands on your legs, the beat to the poem. I like to use this poem to show you guys really what rhythm is. Jack and Jill went up a hill to fetch a pail of water. Okay? I was tapping my foot and slapping my leg. I was kind of making a song out of it. Jack and Jill went up a hill to fetch a pail of water. And as I was reading that, my thinking voice was imagining Jack and Jill running up a hill. Do you see that picture that I thought of as I read that? Poetry has repetition, and what this means is that sometimes in poetry, the writer will repeat lines or repeat words to show their importance, okay? To really, really get their point across. So, for example, I use this one. Row, row, row your boat. Look at the repetition. The repetition is the 3 rows, okay? Row, row, row. That's the repetition. And what the writer is wanting us to know, that they aren't just in a boat, but they're rowing the boat, right? Row, row, row your boat. And so I have a picture of a man in a boat, but he is rowing, because that's what the writer wants us to know, is that he's not just sitting there floating, he's rowing his boat. Okay? Okay. And then we have poetry sometimes can have, it's called alliteration. That's a big word, alliteration. But what that means is that words that have the same beginning sound, okay? To also kind of show importance. So let's look at this one, for example. For days and days, the dancer dances. So I underlined the D sound in all of these words. This is called alliteration. For days and days, the dancer dances, because they all start with that D sound. And the writer is using alliteration to tell us that we do have a dancer that's dancing, but she's not just dancing one time, right? Because they use the alliteration to show us the importance that the dancer is dancing for days and days, okay? So as we read our poems this week, we're going to look for these parts of the poem. Now, poems don't necessarily have all of these parts, okay? They could just have a few. But these are what we're going to look for when we're reading poetry: the rhyme, the rhythm, repetition, and alliteration. So I'm going to hit pause. I'm going to clear this chart, and we're going to read our first poem today, okay? So hang tight. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And what you'll see is I have another chart here that we're going to continue to fill out all week, because we're going to read 3 poems this week, and we're going to compare them to each other. Alrighty, so let's start with the first poem. Now you're just going to listen as I read. The poem is called Poodle Doodles. Okay. Draw, draw, doodle, doodle. I can make a curly poodle. Draw, draw, scribble, scribble. Now I'll make a bone to nibble. Let's break this poem down and think about what the writer is telling us they're doing in this poem. So let's listen for some rhyming words first, okay? Listen. Draw, draw, doodle, doodle. I can make a curly poodle. Do you hear rhyming words? Doodle and poodle. So I wrote doodle and poodle because they rhyme, and you can see that they both have the same ending pattern. O-O-D-L-E. Doodle, poodle. Let's listen to the next line. Draw, draw, scribble, scribble. Now I'll make a bone to nibble. Scribble, nibble. See how they have the same ending sound? Those are rhyming words. So this poem does have words that rhyme. Doodle, poodle, scribble, nibble. And my thinking voice was telling me as I was reading those words, because she said, I can make a curly poodle. I drew a curly poodle. And then in the next part of the poem, she drew a bone for her dog to nibble. So this is what my thinking voice was imagining, right? Okay. Rhythm, the beat that makes you tap your foot, okay? This poem actually has 2, 4, 6, 8. Each section of this poem has 8 beats, and they repeat themselves. So listen to me. Draw, draw, doodle, doodle. I can make a curly poodle. Draw, draw, scribble, scribble. Now I'll make a bone to nibble. So did you hear the rhythm? Okay, this is an 8-beat rhythm. So this poem does have rhythm. And my thinking voice really was just thinking song, okay? I just put a music symbol because I was kind of turning it into a song, wasn't I? Alrighty, let's talk about these last 2, because these last 2 can kind of get confused with each other. Repetition and alliteration. Now it's important that repetition is when you say the same, when the writer says the same word over and over. Alliteration is when the writer uses different words that have the same beginning sound. So this poem that I just read to you does not have any alliteration, okay? But they do have a lot of repetition, like draw, draw, doodle, doodle, okay? And then he says draw, draw, scribble, scribble. So these are all the same words that he is repeating. They do have the same beginning sound, but that's because they're the same word. So they're not alliteration, but they are repetition. Draw, draw, doodle, doodle, scribble, scribble. And my thinking voice is telling me, oh my gosh, he's really trying to make a point here with these words. All of these words have to do with drawing, right? They all kind of mean that, to draw, to doodle, or to scribble, okay? Draw, draw, doodle, doodle, scribble, scribble, all have to do with drawing. So I just drew a pencil to remind myself that that these words mean to draw something. Now, let's break it down and let's figure out what this poem is about, okay? So what are some key words in this poem? Well, we know that he says draw a lot, right? So I think that that is a key word in this poem. Obviously, somebody is drawing, okay? He also says the word doodle because obviously, again, somebody is doodling or drawing. So that is important in this poem because he repeats it, doodle, doodle. He also repeats the word scribble. Okay, so I have these three words that he repeats over and over in his poem because these must be of importance, okay? He's trying to get a point across. Draw, doodle, scribble. I also wrote the word make because I think this word is important that she's making something. He does say the word make. Now I can make, now I'll make. The word make means to create something, right? So, given all of these words that are important in our poem, let's try to decide what this poem is about, okay? Draw, draw, doodle, doodle, I can make a curly poodle. Draw, draw, scribble, scribble, now I'll make a bone to nibble. What do you think our character in this poem is doing? She's drawing a poodle, drawing a bone. She's making a picture. Do you see that? Oops. She's making a picture of her dog. So that's what our first poem this week is about. Poodle Doodles, she's making a picture of her dog. Okay. You guys were great listeners today. So in Seesaw, you're going to practice reading this poem, or you're going to listen to me read it again. And then I have some tasks for you to do about this poem. Alrighty, thanks for watching, guys.